Well, how's it going, Paul?
Good mate, how are you doing?
Not too bad. Thanks again for taking the time out to do this.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. I'm getting used to these Zoom interviews,
Yeah,
and everything's changing, isn't it? The music business is really changing now because I'm not only doing, press stuff like this on Zoom meetings, but I'm not going into London as much. We're doing obviously we're going to talk about the Manson box set, and when everything went into lockdown, that really got pushed back, but we managed to do everything remotely by organizing it on Zoom. It's such an important platform now. Everyone, it's just ingrained, isn't it? So
I think
it's the new podcast.
everything's just getting done this way.
Yeah,
Even Graham Norton has his guests on Zoom.
yeah. Question time.
Yeah. Yeah. So as you said, we're here today to talk about the 25th anniversary of Manson, and you're releasing obviously a huge, probably the biggest box set I've ever seen. Um,
Yeah, I think it's the. I think they went for the biggest box set uh, that there's ever been. It's 25 discs. But then you got to remember we did we did three albums. We did a fourth one, but we never finished it. And well, we sort of finished it, but we just put the monitor mixes out. Um, Maybe one day I'll finish it. One day I'll get around to it. And but we did 14 EPs, and across them 14 EPs are 68 tracks that aren't on the albums. So you got to fit them all on the discs. And in addition to that, um, we found that we'd filmed a Brixton Academy show. So if you go onto the Manson Facebook page or mine, Paul Draper, we have two ones running the record company run Manson, and that there's a really great full clip of Being a Girl. We always didn't get, because the fans sort of kept the band alive through the groups and stuff on the internet. We just put a poll and said, what track do you want to see from the film, from the Manson the movie, and they voted for Being a Girl. So you can go and check that out on any of the social media channels, really, YouTube or whatever. And yeah, I forgot how good we were. I thought we were rubbish. And man, God, I was skinny. I must have been 10 stone then.
yeah, yeah. You know,
But yeah, no, it's good. I mean, it's representative of the show. I mean, we let the fans pick their favorite track. We didn't just put the best one up. So that was really great. And we've just put up now. We've got a 160-page hardback book. Like, it's basically a Manson encyclopedia written by Peter Doggett, who did the famous Beatle book, You Never Give Me Your Money, about the split of the Beatles. Really respected journalist, and he's written a 160-page book. But inside that, I kept all my notebooks from when I was a teenager, and with all my songs in it, and like the embryonic Manson songs, and there's all sorts of and my Attack of the Grey Lantern notebook. So there's loads of pages of me just with my mad ideas and how I come up with the title of the album. And P-Dub, my longtime engineer and collaborator, back in 1998 decided to pick up all my random notes that because I'm very OCD, so I have to write everything down in lists. And he put them all together, put them in a foolscap folder, and they ended up in the EMI archive. I mean, you wouldn't believe it. Most people would throw them in the bin. So there's a lot of that in there. And then there's loads of unseen photographs and all like that, and the story of the band, like a little bit more detail of what really happened. Because it was quite a dark, tragic, success, really, Mansun. That's how I would describe it. But we got we tracked down all our old instruments. After the band ended, we were essentially bankrupt, and we had to sell all our equipment away. But of course, the people who bought the instruments were great fans, and we put the feelers out. You know, anyone knows where Chad's guitar is, or where my red and black Les Paul is, and we found them all, man. We found them all. And Scott, our label K-Scope, Scott Robinson, I bow down to you for putting this box set together. He spent 2 years of his life on it, and it is an incredible box set. It's he went and photographed every instrument, amplifier, pedals that we used, and I give a little synopsis of, even down to what microphones we used. I mean, it's really detailed. It's like all them books you get about the Beatles, where you can get the recording sessions and the Beatles equipment and all, and then the story of the Beatles split and all, and it's all condensed into a 160-page book. So that's beautiful as well. I think the DVD of the Brixton concert is great. I mean, that was the 6th tour. That was when we were at our peak. When I look back at it now, I just think, wow, why couldn't we ever sort it out, man? I think there was a lot of dirty tricks going around that just ruined it in the end. Money and dirty tricks. But if we could have powered on from then, instead of it being taken out of our hands, but that's where we reached a peak as a live band. And you can see we should have been in arenas. We shouldn't have been at Brixton Academy. We had the songs. We're really tight. But I think all the fans that saw when they actually saw it back, I think it was Rathbone that was the star of the show, to be honest. He was such a good drummer, and it should have never split up. And he's never stopped playing like me. He's just carried on music, and we talk on the phone every now and again. We've had our ups and downs, but we sort of met on Tim Burgess's Twitter listening parties. He played 2 consecutive Mansun albums on 2 nights, Attack of the Grey Lantern and 6, and I just met Rathbone there again, and we started talking again, and we just said we've got to play again, man. But I don't know how we're going to do it. But the others have retired, so I don't know how we'll do it. It's not exactly going to be Page and Plant, is it? But it'll be something in that era. And of course, with COVID, all the gigs have been moved back. My tour was in for April. We've moved it back to September, and hopefully we can make that work. And then January, February is the 25th anniversary of Attack of the Grey Lantern. So me and Andy are planning something for that, something big, good for the fans, you know what I mean? Mansun won't ever exist again. But we really had something down the middle. That's what we used always to say. We had 2 wingmen, but Mansun was down the middle, the drummer, and me. We just had a symbiotic relationship, and so yeah, we're going to do something. I don't know what you call it though. Would you call it's hard to know, but just looking back at this Brixton video, I can definitely say he was the best drummer of the Britpop era. Like, if you want to call us Britpop, and I'm including everything from like Radiohead and Mannix and all that. I'm not just saying Menswear and Sleeper and that. I'm talking about that era. He was the best. And so he came down recently, actually, but once we made friends, I said, I'll play with you again, because I like playing with great musicians. I mean, I don't know anyone who came to my solo gigs, either the acoustic shows or the full shows, And we went right around the world, man. Japan, China, America, France, Belgium, Europe, you know, and all over the UK. Belfast, of course. And Belfast was one of the best gigs I've ever done, actually.
Yeah,
It was like ecstasy in the room. And Dublin was mad because Dublin was just packed out. So that was a great gig too. So, you know, this new album round, will we get to go to all them countries? I don't know. But what I know is the album's definitely going to come out early next year. You'll start hearing things.
Yeah. Describe the, obviously you had to go into the EMI vaults to get all the tracks and all the master tapes for the box set. First of all, what is the EMI vaults like? Is it like Fort Knox, or can you describe it?
It's the second biggest studio tape storage place in the world. Mm-hmm. There's only one more bigger in America. It's in West London where the old EMI headquarters is. You arrive at gates, all electrified gates, massive, you know, metal fences around it, and, you know, it's all electrified. Massive security to get in. You get in and you park and you come into a sealed area, and you meet Jackie, who has been amazing to us in the archive. And she's had everyone in from, you know, Pink Floyd to Duran Duran, all going through the tapes. Of course, the first thing you want to know is, where's the Beatles tapes? And she said, I can't tell you, because they're basically priceless. If you look at the mixing desk that Abbey Road, the album, was recorded through, that was sold for £1.5 million or dollars. And that's just a mixing desk. Now imagine what the actual tape that Sgt. Pepper's or Dark Side of the Moon and, you know, Ziggy Stardust are worth. And we saw some of them, but everything is coded. So nothing's under its own name. So even if people broke in, they wouldn't know what they were robbing. They got massive security because a journalist came in one day and tried to nick a master tape. And I think he got put away. I mean, you're talking about fraud of millions, you know what I mean? But bizarrely, because of the EMI takeover, EMI got taken over, you know, so they had to sell off a proportion of their assets for the European Competition Commission. They wouldn't have had to do it now because we're out of Europe, you know, but and because the head of EMI at the time, Miles Leonard, was involved with us, he sold us, Supergrass and Radiohead, our catalogues back. And I believe Radiohead and Supergrass, who are managed by the same people, have built a nuclear bunker in Oxford, so no one can ever get near those tapes. Because you imagine what, like, I Should Coco or, you know, the Bends or whatever, you know, the actual tapes that it's on are worth. I don't think no one's ever sold anything like this at auction because people keep them. But you know, you saw the other day, it was like 7 years after Shakespeare died and someone put all his poems together. It wasn't even him, and it went for 8 million. You know what I mean? So these master tapes in the future might be the Mona Lisas of the future, you know what I mean? And anyway, they're all in secured aisles. You have security with you all the time. You have to go through a, once you're through the main area, you have to go through a very large tunnel that takes all dust off you and all like that. It's all temperature controlled and stuff like that. So even if you broke in, you'd never get into the tape store. It's essentially Fort Knox. it's essentially, you know, it's priceless as the British Museum, but it'll take time for these things. Like there's all other things in there that are incredible. Like they've got the world's first digital mixing desk. Do you remember that film, The King's Speech?
Yeah.
They've got the actual microphone. EMI used to make the King's microphone, and the real microphone is in there. And every king and queen who have a microphone is in the EMI storage. It's all been put into a trust now, and I suspect one day it will become a museum. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. I mean, I'm not, you know, you can't say too much really, but I know what Pink Floyd's you know, fake name was, but I would never say it in real life. You know, we were really trusted by the guys there because they knew we had a lot of hard work to do, and we had to dig deep into them tapes, man, to find. Don't forget, we did the Attack of the Grey Lantern box set with loads of outtakes, and 6 with loads of outtakes, and this one we've got 6 live albums, some of them were just monitor mixes from desks in Norway when we were supporting NXS. I mean, how mad is that? When we were really raw, but some of them are incredible shows from Glasgow Barrowlands, and P-Dub mixed them, and they just sound phenomenal. I just think, wow, there's nothing like that now.
What was the biggest prize you came across? Would it have been the gigs?
The biggest prize we came across when we launched our album, because I wasn't awkward. I was just a bit weird. I was just a bit of a weird kid. So I said, can we launch it in the Isle of Mansun? So we went across to the Isle of Man and played in a casino, and we found a video of the concert.
Wow.
And a bit of that's some of that's on the DVD. It's mad. We just smash all our instruments up, and it's great. But the greatest thing we found was the Brixton DVD. We found Chad wanted to leave the band at one time. He didn't want to work with me. He wanted to be his like own artist. So he'd gone off and recorded his own track. But I think it got rejected. But you know, we put that on there. Loads of just hundreds of outtakes and things we'd forgotten about, different lyrics. You know, when we got to the Little Kicks era, we were very much under the thumb of the record company, but 6, we found alternative versions. You know, when I look back and we put that stupid opera thing in 6, if they'd have put a contemporary cover on it and put When the Wind Blows as instead of that, I think that would have been a killer rock album, man, instead of being viewed as a pseudo attempt to be prog, which we weren't. You know, we didn't know what we were doing. Found original takes of Disgusting with different lyrics. We've actually got 4 discs of alternative versions and demo, all not heard before. We've got all the EPs, all 14 EPs, and like for instance, the Legacy EP, there was 7 tracks on it, on one single back in them days, because I was so driven and so determined to make the band successful. I would put, you could put 4 tracks on a single. So Mansun always released EPs. That's how I look at it. We did 14 consecutive chart EPs, and I've challenged anyone to beat that. And I've never met anyone yet, not even the Beatles. So we might not have been the greatest album artists of all time. We might not have been the greatest singles artists of all time, but we might just have been the greatest EP artists of all time. Yeah. And there's 68 tracks across, you know, 10 discs of all these B-sides. And I just sit down and like, when I listen through it, sometimes I just cried and I just think, why didn't we put that out as a single? And I just didn't have the power to fight the label, you know. I don't think anyone knew what to do with us. It was Manson was too weird.
Yeah,
It sort of crossed the line between surrealism and like really left field art rock, but it also had a pop element. So we just didn't fit in, man. But the archive is incredible. I mean, we dug everything we could out. So on this one, we've got 4 fully mixed live concerts, which just sound phenomenal. As I say, if you're watching this and you're not a Manson fan, just check out YouTube and see Being a Girl, and that was us at our peak and stuff. And we had we've got some bootleg live shows which people have never heard. We've got 4 discs of unreleased stuff, all the albums, all the outtakes. It's huge. It's a huge full encyclopedia of Manson with a 160-page book. We had an official fanzine that ran for a few years. We put that in there. We took all my notes that I wrote in the studio and just dumped in the bin, and for some reason Dub kept them and put them in the archive, and they're in there as well. And they make me laugh because I've got there's a song called Comes As No Surprise, and I've got my lyrics working it all out and changing it out and stuff like that, but the title is called The Sweetest Suicide, and it's like, wow, I forgot about that, man. Wow, it's just the amount of stuff that we have in the archive is phenomenal. And they've put all the Top of the Pops, Jules Holland appearances, TV, Zig and Zag interviews and documentary bits and bobs on there. But I think the Manson film, the film of Bricks and the Academy, that shows what we were, except Drastic Sturgeon, which I just thought was crap. But the Glasgow Barrowlands show is really, really, we were really on fire then. I think we were relatively friendly with each other then, so we were really on fire. And we remastered everything, and I'm really proud of the box set. I'm really proud of it. I mean, the sales have just been phenomenal. Like it's you're gonna have to pay a lot to get it in the future. We did the Dead Flowers Reject thing, for Record Store Day, and we did a couple of thousand of them, but within a day, people are selling them for 160 quid on eBay, and it made me sick, you know what I mean? And I called the record company. I go, have you got any more? And like, of course they've got a few more. They have reserves on the shelves, in case people send them back. And they're like, yeah, we've got like 30 on the thing. I said, just get them out. I'll just put on the net where you can get them from, because fans are just getting ripped off here. So hopefully on the Manson website, we've got the absolute best price for the box set. And it's cheap, man. I mean, I've just bought the Prince box set, 230 quid, 4 discs, two vinyl. But I want to see his notes. I want to see what he writes down, you know what I mean? And so we've got plenty of that in our... what his thought process was,
Well, the Manson fans are really, really dedicated, and and they're over the moon about this, and they're going to eat it up, But why do you think Manson has such unique fans? Such a cult following. Even now, after all, there's more and more new fans getting put onto the band and discovering the band and really getting it. Why do you think that is?
That's the weirdest thing. The fans are getting younger and younger, but it's like, if you take the Small Faces from the 60s, which I always put as a parallel to what Manson was, similar sort of chart success, and then disappeared for years, but then became almost a classic cult band through mod culture. And you've got to remember, now in America, every city's got a Britpop night. You know what I mean? It was the greatest movement since the 60s. And Manson just imploded on one night. Chad didn't want to be in the band. Andy had lost the plot. I was just out of it. I don't want to know about this. I think the engineer didn't want to do it anymore, and we just scrapped it. And if you could all sit down now and just say, oh, let's pick it up. But I think we needed some time off. But I think the fact that we disappeared very quickly, I think it has a hint of the Sex Pistols on it, because we were so fucking mad. You know, you're there, you become massive, and you just implode. And but the fans never went away. They kept this web ring. You've got to remember, this is the 90s. I mean, we had 100,000 people mailing list in 1998. I mean, if we'd have kept going, you know, who knows where it'd have gone. But the creative control was taken out of my hands and given to the record company. But I don't know. Well, I do know why the third album came out, why it did, because it was because of money from people around the band. I didn't want it out, but the others were suckered into it. And I look at all the B-sides we did, and then the album we didn't finish. Some people think that's the best album we ever did. It's just us, you know, we just played in a studio, but we never mixed it. We never did overdubs and stuff like that. Maybe one day I'll finish it. And
you also mentioned before that you would go back to Little Kicks and like the Let It Be Naked sort of vibe thing on it, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I obviously at the moment I literally just got back from the studio to do this interview. Hence the hat to cover the greasy hair and the huge beard, and the so I that's my studio look, man. And yeah, today we're working on my solo album, but our next project is going to be Little Kicks, to revisit that. I think that's going to take quite a few conversations, probably Zoom conversations and arguments, because that album Little Kicks was put out without the band's consent, really. We were tricked into it. The record company were also tricked into it, and it was done for money, and it ended up in a disaster, and that ended the band. What I had was another, probably about 20 songs. I'd say about 10 came out on the B-sides. And I want to do Little Kicks Naked, or Little Kicks artist version, or whatever you want to call it, and take all the tracks we did in them sessions, the album and the B-sides, and I might do it with the fans, and we all pick what album would we have made out of this, or I might just do what I felt the album should be like. I mean, there's loads of Andy Rathbone's drum takes that are just off the clock, but it all had to be straight and no silly lyrics, and it had to be like on the track Forgive Me, I think the opening line was, "You said everything I did in bed was wrong." But to me, that's just a joke, you know what I mean? But as a record company, it's like, no, none of that shit anymore. It's like, but it was fixed, man. You've taken something that's fixed and just bust it. Like, what are you trying to do? But I think they wanted us to be like McFly or something, you know, McBusted.
But that's what Mansun were different. They didn't sound like anybody else, and lyrically they weren't like anybody else. So that's why people liked the band.
Yeah. I think we were completely unique. You know, it was like we'd done the first 2 albums, and I was perfectly happy with the first one. The second one, you know, I was. Can you say fuck on the internet?
You just did.
Okay, are you going to cut that out then?
That's all right.
Okay. Well, I was really fucking pissed off because the artwork was all wrong, and the stupid opera thing in the middle, take that out. And we should have sat down with an A&R man and worked it, because we had all the tunes. We just put out all the B-sides of the Mansun album, and people are buying it for fucking 200 quid, and because the songs were better than 6. It's like, we just needed some guidance, man. And it was just all done wrong. Then it was taken out of my hands, and then the album was put out for money, basically. That we weren't really involved in it, and so I want to put that right. I've got all Andy's wilder drum takes. I've got the I've got a rough idea which are the crap tracks on that album, and I want to replace them with the killer tracks on the B-sides, and I want to remix it and put out Little Kicks, the definitive version. This is what we would have, if we were left to our own devices. This is the album you would have got. And you know, I speak to the fans a lot and say, well, you know, would you have been happy with Attack of the Grey Lantern 6 with my amendments or not? And then this. And by that point, we should have been doing arenas, but it was just so badly mishandled. But, you know, everyone will tell you that because everyone's bitter in the music industry, aren't they?
I mean, you've said a lot of negative things, you know, about how Manson was, but I mean, there's bound to be some really good times. I mean, what was your fondest memory of being in the band?
I think it was the day I left.
Really?
That was my fondest memory. It went dark very, very quickly. I mean, when we were just rehearsing as a little band, and I had my songs from when I was a teenager because I loved the Beatles, you know, so I knew how to throw chords around, and you know, you just got to mine it. You just got to keep looking for it, and then it can be 2-3 hours. Then you just mine that. You know, it's like, you know, digging a coal face, and there's the diamond, you know, and it's just a chord change over the thing, and it's like there's only 12 notes, and it's impossible to do. I mean, you know, you can only go as far as you can, and I think early on, I had my early songs, and that's the earlier Manson we were talking about before. But when I started writing, like Wide Open Space, Disgusting, Dark Mavis, I was just on an amazing roll. But then other influences came in and knocked me off my stride, and you've got to be in the zone to write to that level, man. But it took me a long time to get back in the zone, but I'm back in the zone now. My new albums, I don't know how I'm going to sell it. It's like so weird. I've got a song in it called You Killed My Fish. It's like, how do you sell that? But it's like, that's a typical Manson type of song, but it's really great. But I don't think Radio 6 will play it because they'll just think it's too weird. And, you know, you're not going to get like, I don't know. I think there's some, I think I've got my mojo back on this album. I think the songwriting, just going back to sitting with a 12-string acoustic, influenced by Bowie, by the way, because he wrote all his songs in 12 strings. So I've done a lot of 12-string acoustic writing on this. Done a bit of piano writing, you know, so I'm hoping it's going to be a success. We're hoping for a top 10 now. Top 10 now.
Is it a departure in sound from Spooky Action? You know,
Yeah, massive. Like Spooky Action. I took the recordings P-Dub had, and I took a microphone, my favorite microphone, a D19, AKG D19, and I recorded everything he did. And I put it through a Porter studio, remember a cassette Porter studio, and made him record it back to the tape. And then he mixed it from that to make it sound lo-fi.
Right.
I didn't have enough confidence to make a big record.
Mm-hmm.
But Cult Leader Tactics, it's a big record. It's a big record, but I don't know how it's going to fit in, man. It's like, you've got to do one of them Paul Simon Gracelands things where you just come out of, you know, a period of not inactivity, but not making something massive and then making a huge record, you know.
But you told me before it's going to be a book as well. Is that correct?
Yeah. The title, Cult Leader Tactics, the theme of the album is to get what you want out of life by being a massive cunt. Can you say cunt on the radio?
Again?
In the internet?
Yeah.
You can bleep it out if you want.
Probably.
Yeah, it started off just being about how to get on in business, and then I went through a relationship, and then I realized I was stitched up in that as well. And then, so now it's just how to get on in life by being a massive cult. So I've called it Cult Leader Tactics, and it's the tactics you use to trick, use, and it's for everybody really. It's for the meek if you haven't got any clue how to do that, and even if you're like a full-on, you know, narcissistic personality disorder or whatever, you'll still get a few tips for it. So we're going to do it in a like a 4 CD with the album in 5.1 surround sound stereo, and then all the outtakes and stuff like that. And I'm going to have the full book of Cult Leader Tactics, which I've written from my experience, not of me doing it to people, but people doing it to me. But there's no names mentioned. It's very it's a parody.
Right.
You know, it's a parody. So of a self-help book. So, you know, you see these books like Eat Yourself Slim, or you know, whatever, these books with the big things on the front and that, and it's a fad book. And this one's Cult Leader Tactics, how to get on in life. So my album obviously goes through all my different experiences of being screwed over by people. And some of it is a parody of me playing the part of, you know, the narcissist. So it's basically a book with a free CD.
When did you out next year sometime?
Yeah, May. Well, the other thing we're thinking of doing is, because we're going to do it in like a 3 CD package, we're doing like a 4th one. But you know, you get like these Paul McKenna things on Spotify, and it's like, you know, 99, 98, and you're feeling drowsy. So I'm thinking of doing one of my own hypnotic CDs to go with the package, where I sort of, you know, 98, 99, right now you're under. Now remember, tomorrow, just be a fucking massive cunt. Shit all over everyone you've met. Lie, cheat, plant drugs on them, you know. So it's but obviously it'll be a comedy CD. But it's just a parody of that whole genre, is what I'm doing.
So that'll be next year.
So I'm either going to fall on my face and everyone's just going to go, "You idiot, go away," or some people might find it funny and surrealistic, you know. But
So when did you say next year? Next May? Is it coming out?
yeah, May 5th, I think.
Right. And then obviously, hopefully, you'll be able to get on the road. But in the meantime, have you thought about a live stream? Everybody seems to be jumping on that bandwagon at the moment.
Yeah, well, at the minute I'm mixing with P-Dub, my album, and adding some extra BVs. We thought, should we go and do the live stream? Me and Ben do an acoustic show, but we've decided to wait. I mean, everything's still going to be locked down. There's no way you're going to have gig venues in King Tut's or bloody Belfast Limelight ever in a million years in May when my album's out. So we're going to do it week of release, I think.
Right.
And we're early stages working that out. And we might just play the whole of the album live in the studio, you know, like midnight when it's released, or week of release or something like that. But you know, that's our alternative plan. And in the meantime, you know, to keep afloat, you know, I've been doing some handwritten lyrics for fans and, you know, working on some other things and stuff. But, you know, for a jobbing musician like me, who my first album was completely dependent on going out on the road, you know, I mean, I want to get back out on the road, but my dates are now September. And I worry about that because I think arenas will be open. You can social distance in arenas, but how could you social distance in King Tut's in Glasgow or the Limelight in Belfast? How can you social distance?
It's going to be hard.
Limelight too. The thing is, you can physically do it, but how can you make any money? You have to double the ticket price.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is why everyone's going online and doing it. And so I think we haven't got a strategy other than we have an album and we'll push it to our own fans, and you know, so it'll be, you know, and wait for the tour till September. That's all we can do really. But we're definitely going to do some online stuff. There's no question about that. You know, we're going to do an online Q&A as well. I think me and Ben, my guitarist Ben Sink, anyone who knows my stuff will know Ben. We'll do an acoustic show, and our big plan is in the studio where we recorded it. We're going to, the week of release of Cult Leader Tactics, we're going to, you know, play it live, you know, in one go, the whole album. Maybe on the night of release or midweek, you know. Depends where your midweeks are. I'll have to, if it's, you know, it's only 10 in the mid, I'll have to get the guitar away or something like that, like Richard Hawley does. So he gets to the top 4. Hi, Richard. I love you, Richard. I've loved Richard since he borrowed me my Vox AC30 when mine blown up at Sheffield lead mill. So Richard's a lovely guy.
And what about singles? When can we hear the first single? Would it be that one you mentioned about the fish, maybe?
Oh no, I don't know. I've got one. I've got. Oh no, she won't be watching it. I've got a song called "You've Got No Life Skills, Baby,"
Right.
which is about my last relationship and how it broke up. But there's a lot of Cult Leader Tactics in there because I don't think that's the real reason. But so we got that one. We've got a song about using Cult Leader Tactics to destroy a relationship between people called "You Killed My Fish." I think they're the 2 big single contenders at the minute. The other tracks are "Everybody Becomes a Problem Eventually," which is a it's oh, I can't tell you what it's about. I'll tell you a lie. It's about a man who falls in love with his own PC, and but during the lockdown. But that's not the real story. I could get into a lot of trouble for that one. What other tracks we got? We got a track called Annie. Any Mansun fans will know Annie. I had that for years and just never put it out. And I was going to change it actually to another girl's name. But I'm not bothered about it anymore, so it's staying as Annie because I don't know anyone called Annie. And then what else have we got? We've got lying about who you sleep with. Good Cult Leaders Tactics song. And we've got a big chorus at the end with everyone singing it. And I think like the verse is something about if you're sitting in your car and cringing, listen to this song, just switch over to Radio 5 or something like that. We've got the title track of the album, Cult Leader Tactics. One of the songs is called Internationale, about some communist anthem that I'd gotten into a while back. Yeah, it's some interesting titles on it, I think. Good lyrics. My lyrics have come along and my songwriting's sharpened and we've made the record bigger. You know, it's I haven't put everything through a £50 tape deck to make myself sound all indie again. So man, it's down to Zoe Ball, man. You got to play this stuff. Because
as usual from Paul Draper.
what's that?
Long song titles. You like your long song titles?
Yeah, I like good song titles. Yeah, yeah. I think I'm pretty good at song titles. Yeah, I can't tell. Hang on, let me look on my iPhone here. I can tell you the whole running order of the album. I'm not, I'm not shy about it. Everyone knows it's called Cult Leader Tactics. Can't. What is song title? No.
How many tracks is on the album?
10.
10.
Here we go. So, okay, we've got Cult Leader Tactics. Everybody becomes a problem eventually. You killed my fish. Talking behind my back. You got no life skills, baby. Annie. Internationale. Line about who you sleep with. And I've got 2 tracks which I haven't decided on the titles yet. But I think they're some of my weirdest titles.
Absolutely.
You killed my fish is a killer.
And people will be listening going, is that about me? You know?
No, it's about a couple who break up. No, it's about people who fall out and then someone picks up the fish bowl and kills the fish. And they have an argument about who killed the fish. And then the middle eight is the other person saying, you know, like, I killed your fish, man. I feel really bad about it. And there's loads of fish stuff in it. But there's been loads of fish in rock and roll history, hasn't there? Many other fish songs.
Well, there's the famous Led Zeppelin story about the fish.
Yeah, let's not go into that. But when the Mansun book comes out, that'll blow Led Zeppelin away.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a shark; it was a red snapper anyway.
Was it? Well, still a fish.
I've seen worse.
What are your thoughts about Rishi Sunak's recent comments about musicians and people who are artistic having to retrain for jobs? Have you thought it doesn't go well in the second album?
I read Liam Gallagher's application today on Twitter when I was in the studio in Stitches, and it says it's just hilarious. And one of my great friends, Skin from Skunk and Nancy, she was told to retrain as a soldier. I mean, it's pretty disgusting, really. The arts is without the arts, life's dead, isn't it?
Yeah.
But your pubs and restaurants, but without the art, I genuinely think some sections of the arts will be treated okay, but I think my section of it, like, I played like Manchester Ritz and Brixton, where you can sit up, but you're playing to 2,000 people, and you've got how can you social distance in a mosh pit? I mean, even if they find a vaccine, vaccinate everyone, are they really going to let people go mad in a massive mosh pit next September?
No, it'll be arenas first. They'll test out
arenas. It's got to be arenas, and I because I'm a because I'm a cult, I only do small gigs, Well, I say small, I mean, they're thousands, you know what I mean? But they do have, people want to mosh, man, and people want to sweat and sing and spit all over each other. And I don't know how I'm going to get out of it.
If there was gigs on tomorrow, I would go.
Yeah, but they're not going to be.
No, I know. I wouldn't annoy me. I'd be fine about it myself, personally.
I just think the latest explosion with students going back and schools going back and all like that, that's what's going to happen when gigs happen. You know what I mean? I mean, it needs a vaccine. I mean, you know, Gary Newman's laughing and he can't believe his luck, can he? Because he's like just got all cars coming in to watch his gig and he just stands there and does cars and everyone's flashing their horns and beeping. It's like, God, you're the luckiest pop star in the world. I wish I'd have written a song years ago called Social Distancing. And then got everyone to do the social distance dance where you all have to do 2 meters away from each other. Do the social distance. No, I'm only having you on. I've already got that on my album.
That's what I say as well. I mean, is there any things references to the lockdown or COVID or
Oh
anything?
yeah. Oh yeah. Loads, man. I just rewrote things and threw one track off and wrote an extra track and yeah. I think I've got the word COVID-19 in there. Yeah, there's loads of references to it. Yeah, because you know, if you're going to be an artist, you have to reflect your real life, and this is my real life. You know, I live on my own in this place, and that was tough. You know, and I speak to my family and my friends and stuff, and but it was tough, man. You know, you just go out shopping to Morrison's and the police stop you in the street, and it's like, I'm going shopping, mate. You know. And I'm allowed out 3 times a day and go out for post me lyrics out and go to Morrison's and then go for a jog. But you know, they well, you know, I suppose they're all right, the police.
You must be being really productive then during the whole time and putting the album together. I suppose you know there've been no.
Yeah. Well, I have my home studio, so you know, I think we took the album to another level. I didn't think we were going to make an album that was going to be this big in terms of big tunes, like bangers. But that now gives you a whole other level of worry, which is, you know, how, you know, I'm not 22 and on Radio 1. How do you get them bangers out there these days on an independent label, you know? But I have my fan base, so I love them for sticking with me all these years. So I'm just making the record for them, really. And as soon as I can get out on the road, I'll do it. It'll be very funny and very dark. Yeah. As long as you accept the joke, you know. It's sort like my last album, Spooky Action, was just me so hurt by everything that had happened, and I'd written the lyrics a long time ago when Miles Leonard at Parlophone was just literally trying to get me to do a solo album, and I just couldn't do it, you know, and I had to, you know, reset my brain to just get out of the situation I was in. And then eventually I put it out, but it was very, very dark, very, very personal about the people that were around me and what they did to me. But I think this album now has gone back to like Attack of the Grey Lantern, where it's a spoof record about, but it's not a spoof record about a superhero coming down to cleanse, you know, because I think a lot of Mansun songs were way ahead of the time, you know, Stripper Vicar, there is a fucking Stripper Vicar now. And Being a Girl, everyone was laughing their heads off at me. But now you wouldn't laugh your head at anyone who was, you know, in that position in their life. I've met guys, you know, who are transsexual or transvestite or whatever, who just said like, you spoke to me, you know. So I think we did things out of the norm. I don't think the straight media liked it, you know, they just wanted Travis and, you know, Embrace and stuff like that. So we were odd, but I think I've gone back to that surrealism now for this book record. I'm also working now on the adverts. I can see myself, I'm going to dress up like Victor Khayyam. Do you remember him? He used to try and sell you a razor. This is Victor Khayyam. This is the #1 self-help book, Cult Leader Tactics. Do you want to get to the top by any means necessary? Buy this book now, man. You buy this book. And so I'm going to, I'm going to create some sort of character out of Victor Khayyam and Muhammad Ali and maybe do my own adverts. But depends how much balls I've got, really. But that's my plan. I'm even planning my own adverts. I'm that OCD.